Today is Monday 22nd of July, which means it is Tour du Gnar day. So if this line is not challenging enough for you, I got another one. I look ahead, drop my heels. Finding those natural features and riding them as they are, or being creative, I'm sure Wade Simmons will be proud. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Today is Monday 22nd of July, which means it is Tour du Gnar day. Tour du Gnar is an idea from my buddy Yoann Barelli, where the goal is to hit every single gnarly feature in between Vancouver and Pemberton in only one day. Unfortunately, Yoann had a super horrific crash in Quebec a few weeks ago. He's doing much better now, but he made the smart decision to cancel Tour du Gnar, and I totally support this, especially when I see the current condition. It is super hot, it is very dry, it will have been a super sketchy day, and realistically some of those features simply don't ride in those conditions. But stay reassured, we're gonna have some good riding today. We're gonna be looking at a few spicy lines, and I'm gonna explain you everything I know about riding my bike down that type of terrain. We're gonna be looking at bike setup, body position, line choices, even the mental aspect. I think it's gonna be a really cool video for yourself if you want to progress and challenge yourself on your local features. Let's start with some riding. For the first feature of the day, we made it to N Trail. Definitely one of the most popular double black diamond trail around here in Squamish, and this trail gets harder and harder as it gets ridden more and more. Right now it's so loose and bumpy, it is actually really difficult to pick up a line and stick to it, so more than ever it's really important to look ahead. First line we're gonna check out is that optional line. The regular trail goes around me, but this is pretty cool. It is really steep, you got a bunch of roots that you have to manage, and you have very little time to shut it down at the bottom before you rejoin the regular trail. So I like to come in a pretty tall position so I can really spot my line. As you can see, there's a bunch of rocks and roots, so I have to be precise so I don't clip my pedals. And as I creep into it, I want to really modulate my braking. Right now, all that dirt is so loose, if I brake too hard, I'm gonna slide, and I don't want to lock my wheels. I want to keep the wheels turning as slow as possible so I can keep that traction. I'm gonna try to approach this as slow as possible while looking ahead, and then where it gets steeper, I'm gonna have to push the bike down and to make sure that the wheels are gonna stay in contact with the ground. And when I get onto that compression, it's really where I'm gonna be able to slow down. So as the bike is gonna compress, I'm gonna push through the bike in a really strong position, and I will be able to brake really hard so I can regain composure and slow myself down before the next section. Let's do it. So I'm gonna come rolling super slow and super tall on the bike so I can see my line, modulate the braking, and then I'll use the compression to slow down. So I just went pretty slow to demonstrate the technique. Now I'm gonna go a bit faster to show you with speed. I think it's always a really good idea when doing that type of feature to work on going as slow as possible to make sure you got a good understanding of the terrain, the condition, the bike, and little by little increase the speed. So if this line is not challenging enough for you, I got another one. You can go straight off the rock and basically do a wall ride. It's definitely straighter, faster, more intimidating though. Not sure if Yoann or I did it first, but I haven't done it in a while, and I know it's a fun one, so let's do it. That's a pretty spicy line. Like, the line itself is really committed, but to me the hardest section was actually the setup. You got those off-camber roots, you don't have much momentum, and you have a ton of exposure on the left hand side. So to me that was the most like challenging part, at least mentally. But once you pass that and pass the point of non-return, the line is pretty straightforward. You kind of have to just let go the brakes and ride the rock slab like a wall ride, and just make sure you look ahead so you can avoid like those obstacles at the bottom. But it's a cool line, it's fast, I like it. This is pretty spicy. I was super excited to show you this feature today. I've opened it in 2020. I've ridden it countless of time, in the dry, in the wet, even at night, and every time it's scary, every time it's challenging. It is super tall, very exposed. There's so much going on. That upper section starts with a bunch of very big compression. It is really steep, so it's very challenging to keep the tires on the ground and not get bounced around. You want to really stay super controlled so you can manage your speed for that middle section. That's crucial. But that upper part, your body position, your bike setup is going to be essential. So body position, I like to stay super tall on the bike so I can really see what's going on, and also I can be very active and push on the bike when needed. I want to be really good with my braking, really modulate and make sure I don't lock the tires, or as little as possible. And for this, bike setup is gonna be key. I like to run my tire pressure basically as low as I can. On a feature like this, right now, I'm riding 22 psi on the rear, 20 psi on the front on double down casing from Maxxis. And if you look at my suspension, my front suspension is a bit stiffer than my rear suspension, so the bike sits a little bit lower and I don't get pushed over the front. Another thing, my handlebars are fairly high, and it's so the bike performance is best on that type of situation. So this section to me is really difficult to manage, and right now we've been talking about the condition, but this is what I was talking about. Dust and little gravel on top of the slab make it very, very difficult to simply ride and control the speed, and honestly I'm not confident that I could ride that safely, so I think it's best to pass. On top of that, there's a bunch of moss and pine cone on the second part of the slab, and if I didn't manage to slow down enough, I'll end up in the trees at the bottom. So we're gonna skip it, but I'll definitely come back at some point.
Is this even a trail?
No, this is a proper free ride. Mother Nature put that perfectly smooth run in. It's really steep though, and then you got that it's basically a drop. It's probably like 10 to 15 feet tall, and then you got like kind of a landing, but it's on the side. And I saw that last year, and yeah, I rode it a few times. It was actually super fun. It's amazing when you see a feature like that was, you know, essentially there. Like, I didn't have to build anything, and you picture yourself riding it a certain way, and then it feels exactly like that. It's a pretty cool feeling. I don't think anyone has done it since, and I haven't gone back since last year, so it's gonna be pretty cool. Last year was a bit wet when I did it, which on some section was a bit more scary. Like the moss was definitely gonna be more slippery than now, but that middle section actually had more grip, so I could come in a bit more confident than right now, because right now it's so dry. If I lose traction, I might just have too much momentum as I go off the edge. So, but it's really cool. Like, same technique as we saw prior. I'm gonna stand really tall. I'm gonna drop my heel, really modulate the braking so my tire don't slide and they keep turning at all time. Really make myself heavy where I'm braking, which is gonna be right there. I'm gonna be like focused from the corner of my eye. I'm gonna be looking at the exit, because you don't want to go straight. You really want to make that left turn, so it's going to be really important to know the line, know the terrain, And as soon as my front wheel creep in the edge and I start getting momentum, I need to engage the shoulder to kind of make that left-hand corner and go on that landing right there. It's gonna be cool, let's do it. Slow, relaxed, I look ahead, drop my heels. That was wow, doesn't feel like a rock wall, feels like a drop. Yeah, you have to be so focused, and it's like the running is super steep, so you really want to like go as slow as possible, but you absolutely do not want to lock your wheels. You want to keep the wheels like rolling until the very last minute. And as you creep in, like, you know, you really have to make sure you still look ahead, because you want to make the corner. Like, you don't want to go straight, you want to like kind of dive the bike to the side a little bit so you can get onto that running. Yeah, that's my favorite kind of riding, like finding those natural features and riding them as they are, or being creative. To me, that's some sort of free riding, so I'm sure Wade Simmons will be proud. A big shout out to E13 for supporting that video. As some of you might have noticed, these wheels are all new. They haven't been released yet, but should be out pretty soon. All I can tell you for now is to check this out. This is pretty exciting to me. I can't tell you more, but let's see what those wheels are capable of. Another fun line we're gonna check out here on the Room with a View. You got the main line right there, and rider's left you got that super steep slab. I really like it because it's very challenging. There's a lot going on. You have to come basically stopped. On the left you got a lot of exposure, so you have to keep your balance. Once your front wheel drops in, you actually want to lift your rear wheel and get your rear wheel onto the slab as fast as possible, so that way both wheels are in contact when you get to that little nose, and then you need to use that little, I guess, takeoff to clear as much distance as possible so you miss that bad compression, land on the flat here with a bit of momentum, and corner to the rest of the trail. It's really fun, let's do it. Okay, we are out here on In-N-Out Burger, and Tour du Gnar definitely will have stopped here to check out a few of those features. So let's ride some of them. So first attempt went pretty well today, but actually I overshot very slightly, probably landed a couple feet deeper than I wanted to. And as a result I carried much more speed. Just that extra air time didn't leave me enough time to really slow down before the corner, especially because I missed that ledge at the bottom, and that ledge is really important to catch your tires and make sure you can corner left easily. So I had to take my foot out. Not ideal, but let's do it again. That trail is definitely easier going downhill than uphill.
Pretty easy, right?
Always a fun one. So many iconic lines, definitely a big part of Tour du Gnar. The A line where I nose manual, drop and then jump that slab at the bottom. We're gonna skip it today. As you see, the conditions are pretty bad, but it's also very windy. So I'm gonna keep it wheels on the ground. A couple of days ago, I found this line. You can basically ride on it. I know it's hard to believe because it's essentially vertical, but same technique as we saw earlier in this video. I'm gonna come up tall and strong on the bike. I'm gonna spot my landing, get my front wheel down and up the rear wheel, so that way the bike can get into a vertical position and get in contact with the slab as soon as possible, so I can then brace for impact because there is a huge compression. And then a second one, I'll go back on the brakes after, drop my heels, push down on the bike to be able to brake as efficiently as possible. And then instead of doing the jump on that slab at the bottom, I'm gonna roll down it and it's gonna be exactly the same technique. I'm gonna get super slow, look at my line, get the front wheel, and then I'm gonna be super proactive and throw my shoulder on the front a little bit and pull my pedals to simply bring the rear wheel down the slab. Otherwise my bottom bracket will simply touch the knuckle and throw me over the bar, and I don't want to do that. It's gonna be fun, let's do it. That was pretty good. It's definitely super sketchy right now. The conditions are very, very slippery. It's hard to keep the bike under control. And more than ever, you have to really look ahead and you kind of have to let the bike dance a little bit. You want to like really engage your core and be strong when you need to be, but you can't fight the bike everywhere. You want to let the tires find some grip, and you want the terrain to kind of push you through those compression where you can actually get traction and like carry speed, or you know, at least stay on the line. So yeah, that was fun. That was a good day. Thanks a lot everybody for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. Honestly, I'm pretty stoked with what we were able to do despite the condition. I think we adapted well, and I'm pretty stoked on the message, which is to really pay attention to the terrain before challenging yourself. This is something to be taken seriously. And if you enjoy the tips, let me know in the comment below which one was your favorite. Make sure you like it, subscribe, and I see you next week. We've got some pretty cool stuff coming. I'm going to be going on trips, and anyway, it's gonna be great, so subscribe and I see you next week.